3D printing is an integral part of the present day fourth industrial revolution. One component, other component being AI, robotics, etc. Now, what is 3D printing? The basic question is, what is 3D printing? Another name of 3D printing is also your additive manufacturing. The name only suggests you are adding something. So another name of 3D printing is your additive manufacturing. It means you are adding. Additive manufacturing, a manufacturing process where things are being added up. Now 3D printing is the capability to convert data into things and things into data. It is the ability to turn data into things and things to data. That is critical. You can convert the object into data and data into object. So a critical component, data into things. Now in 3D printing, you create the final product or the physical product from a software file or a digital file. So first you create the digital design or digital design file, and then by adding one layer upon another layer, layer upon layer approach, you create the final product. First you create the data, then you print that data using layer upon layer approach. Now in 3D printer, like when you print your notes on a Xerox copier or when you are through a printer, it is a 2D thing. Whereas 3D printer is like similar to your printer where you print your notes, except that the output is a three-dimensional object and not just text. In case of normal printing, you print out the text, but in this case, here the layer by layer, an object has been printed. So the final outcome of the 3D printer is a physical object. Now in this 3D printer uses a computer aided design. It uses a CAD file. So now you have CAD and CAM file. It uses a CAD file. 3D printer uses a CAD file, and this CAD file can be created using CAD CAM software. So you have to create it from the scratch using the CAD CAM software, or you can go for a 3D scan of the object, of the real object. Nowadays you have many 3D scanner which can scan the object. Either you are creating it from the scratch, from zero level, using CAD CAM, using this CAD CAM software, you are creating the CAD CAM file, or this is a photo, this is a 3D scanner. Using a 3D scanner, you can scan this real object, and this gives the CAD CAM file of that. So first you are creating the digital file of the object you want to print. Now once the file is ready, the file is sent to the 3D printer. In 3D printer, the CAD file will be put through a modeling software, and this modeling software slices this 3D cross section, 3D image into a series of two-dimensional cross-sectional slices. The 3D model is sliced into a series of 2D cross-sectional slices. So it is converted into 2D cross-sectional slices. Now this printer is similar to a typical inkjet printer, whereby you create the object by putting one layer on the top of another layer, and then you use high energy laser and other thing to melt them. So it is a method where layer by layer you are adding the substance. in thin layer, and then the real object comes out. So the printer prints the object. The printer prints the object layer by layer onto the specialized material. So your final object takes shapes. And these printer use high powered laser to fuse the particles of plastic, metal, ceramic or glass powder into a mass. So laser is used to fuse whether it is plastic, metal or ceramic or glass into the final mass. That is how you get the shape. So depending upon the raw material, the type of printers are used. The type of printer will depend on the kind of raw material you are using. For example, in case of plastic raw material, the energy of the laser would be low. But if you are printing a ceramic object or a metallic object, the laser power has to be on the higher side. So depending upon the type of material, the variation will be there. Now, this method of manufacturing is also called additive manufacturing. This is called additive. For example, this is a 3D printing of a model of Eiffel Tower. You see, it is half created. Now on this, the top here, another layer will be added, then another layer, then another layer. You are adding one layer on the top of the other. That is why it is called additive manufacturing. This is called additive manufacturing because you are adding one layer on the top of the other. Whereas in case of normal manufacturing, what we do, we remove material to create a part. In case of normal manufacturing process, we are removing material. For example, we have a sheet of say polyurethane, which is a polymer. Now from this polyurethane sheet, we can cut a specific structure. For example, you have 4 soles, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 sole cut out from the polyurethane sheet. Now the rest of material will be wasted. For example, this whole structure, what is this whole bulk of the material will be wasted. Now, since you are cutting a portion from the whole sheet, this is called subtractive manufacturing. So, the normal process is your subtractive manufacturing. The normal processes are your subtractive manufacturing because you are removing material from a preformed block. From this preformed block, 1, 2, 3, 4 sheets are there, 4 soles are there. So, processes like milling, cutting are example of subtractive manufacturing technique. And in this process, lot of waste is generated. Around 40% of the material goes waste. So the traditional manufacturing process or the subtractive manufacturing creates lot of waste product, which is not there in case of additive manufacturing. And bulk of this waste will go out as scrap. So the companies, the manufacturing company, they sell these raw material as the scrap. Now in case of 3D printing, you have the merger of the real and the virtual. So 3D printing merges the actual or the real physical world with the digital world. So due to this, people can work easily from across different continent. One fellow is sitting in India, another fellow is in the US. The CAD CAM file is sent from one side to the other side. They can fit the CAD of two different moving part can be fitted with each other using special software and see their effectivity. And as and when required, they can print anywhere. So the CAD file will be sent by the Maruti office, say from India, Maruti India, Maruti Suzuki India Gurgaon office, to say in Japan. They can print it out and see the feasibility. So this process, 3D printing, makes it possible to print anything anywhere. You can print anything anywhere out of the raw material. You just need the raw material, the CAD file and the 3D printer. So now you have got the capability to print complicated object like food, furniture, human organ, aeroplane part, etc. Almost all type of things, even houses, have been 3D printed. Now this is a 3D printed Adidas shoes. Adidas has 3D printed this shoe. So this is 3D printed shoe. So lot of things can be 3D printed these days. Parts of your mechanical part, etc. For example, in space mission, the astronaut can face what bone fracture. There is loss of gravity due to lack of gravity or low gravity. The bone can become light. So even 3D printed tissues and bones can be printed. So 3D printed object start from a simple toy to part of aeroplane to load bearing structure like bone to even organs. In future, we are going to print organ. The Tel Aviv University has 3D printed a human heart. A small 3D human heart has been printed by Tel Aviv University, and it is complete with cells, blood vessel, ventricle, chamber, etc. All the component are present over there. So this was 3D printed. Now this heart is sufficient for a rabbit, not for a human. The size is, for human the size would be more, but complete system was printed in Israel. So we are in the era where organs can even be printed, right from non-living things to living organ can be printed using 3D printing technique. Using this 3D printing technique. We discussed that one of the requirement of 3D printing is your CAD CAM file. One of the requirement is CAD CAM file. But nowadays there are even websites. Which will share and distribute the 3D design. The 3D design can be shared. And such websites such as Shapeways, they have commercialized the aspect of 3D printing. And these allow the individuals to order custom design. So you select the design, the company Shapeways will print it and it will ship it to you. So you can even take out many of the design from the websites. You like a particular design, you can take it out from the website, send either to this company or to any other company. That company will print you and it will send you the final product. So what is the merit of 3D printing? Let's go into what are the merits of 3D printing vis-a-vis other project. Now the benefit, going into the benefits, what are the benefit of 3D printing? The first benefit is mass customization. So it gives us the ability to customize the product according to the demand of individual customer. So based on demand of individual customer. For example, you like a shoe, you like the shoe design, but not color. Now 3D printing gives you ability that you first select the design, then you can even, next step, you can select the color and pattern. So you select the design, then the color and pattern can be put according to your choice. The color and pattern can be put according to your choice. And this gives you a lot of flexibility. So the product can be designed according to the individual customer's choice. According to the individual customer's choice. Then next benefit is, so you select a spectacle or a shoe or anything. You first select the design, your size, all these things can be. So it can be tailored according to your need and requirement. New capability. Now, in case of normal production, you produce the milling and all those process. You have to first create the frames and other thing for producing a particular product. For each product, a separate frame is there. In traditional manufacturing, for each product, separate frames are formed. Whereas in case of 3D printing, there is no need of separate frames. So the high-end fixed cost would be less. You just select the design. The 3D printer will add the component layer by layer and you get the final product. So due to these issues, your product can be designed in a shorter period of time. So the third benefit is lead time and speed. So the design process, the time of the design process and the production cycle can be shortened. No need to have a special die or special structure for producing things. The same 3D printer can design a shoe of shorter size as well as a bigger size, 4 number as well as 10 number shoe. So the time it takes for a product to reach the market can be shortened. So the lead time will be shortened. And nowadays you will find the customer choice is changing very fast. Customer choice. So it reduces the lead time to produce the product of customer choice. Next aspect, supply. The next benefit of 3D printing is supply chain simplification. Supply chain simplification. Now the production can be established close to the point of demand. For example, say for example in North India, you put up 3D printing equipment at 10 or 20 cities and you get an order. For example, say a shoe company like Adidas or Nike can put 3D printer at 10 city in North India and 10 city in South India. Once the customer selects the product, he customizes it, the color, choice, design, etc. on that shoe that can be printed by the nearest 3D printer and it can be sent to the customer. So this will lead to much less inventory. The amount of good that needs to be stored by the company will be drastically reduced. So one major benefit of 3D printing is this reduces the inventory. If the inventory is less, the cost to the company is less and the profit margin will be on the higher side. One of the biggest benefit, the fifth benefit of 3D printing is waste reduction. Waste reduction. Now, in case of traditional subtractive manufacturing, 40 to 50% of the raw material is wasted. Whereas in case of 3D printing, 0% material is wasted or very less, not zero, but we will say very less. Why? You add on the raw material and then you form layer by layer. So in this way, the amount of waste material that is generated is very less. So this is very eco-friendly. You can put even a separate point or you can add here only eco-friendly approach. In this era of green issues, it becomes eco-friendly. Now moving on to the copyright issue. What are the issues associated with copyright? Nowadays, copyright is very important. Patent and copyright issue. The 3D printed object will have the same kind of copyright as that of an object using a traditional method like molding. In normal process, you make a separate mold for all the product. So the molded product as well as a 3D product, 3D printed product will have the same copyright. Now, copyright will exist for the printed object as well as the CAD CAM file. So the CAD file is the software version of the actual product. So CAD file will get the protection of copyright as an artistic work under the Copyright Act. Therefore, the CAD file is basically a model of the product, of the object. That is why it will be seen as an artistic design rather than a computer program. The CAD file will be seen as will be given the protection of an artistic design rather than a computer program.